Hello and welcome back to Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And it has been nearly 2 months since we've recorded a show, which is quite staggering when I went back and had a look at when the last time we did this, but it is good to be back.
It is very good.
I was just going through some things in my personal life, and I was a bit of in a mental funk, you could say, and wasn't really feeling up to the show. But all that shit has been sorted now, and I'm back and I'm ready to go.
Did you go through a midlife crisis? Did you go out and buy like a really sweet car?
No, just hookers and cocaine, really.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's normal though. You're doing that for all the other episodes as well.
That's a normal Sunday night for me.
You're a scallywag. But it has been a while, but a lot has happened.
Yeah, well, we actually caught up during our slumber, and we went and watched It. We had a screening of It. We got to see it a week before it opened, and after we saw the film, we did say this was going to be a monster hit for Warner Brothers, and it was. It's been huge. But something happened that night, and...
I thought we were going to talk about it. It was dark in the cinema. It was a romantic movie.
I know you were scared, but you got to keep your hands to yourself.
That was the problem. I was too much to myself.
Many a times, you and I have both spoken about this, where we go to a movie and there'll be empty seats next to us, and someone will go sit in that seat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentally did this on purpose, or you didn't even know that you did this, but when we sat down, there was a seat between us and the couple next to us. And you sat down and you left that seat open, and for some reason you went and sat in that empty chair next to this person.
Well, because this was going to be a full cinema.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't yet. No one told you had to go and do this.
I was trying to be helpful.
But you went and did it anyway.
But it was
this poor woman who was like, "Yep, perfect." That was going to sit next to me, and then all of a sudden, this big hunk of a lad goes, sits right, steals her armrest, and even helps himself to her popcorn.
Yeah, well, look, shoot, yeah. That's, I'm a socialist as far as popcorn is concerned. You know what I realized? I did this the other day as well. I went to see Kingsman, and it was a pretty empty cinema, and we had booked tickets beforehand.
Oh, no.
And I went into the thing, I'm looking for my seats, and sure, and there's two people sitting not in our seats, but right next to them. And it's a pretty much empty cinema. So I'm like, okay, two things have happened here. One, you have booked tickets right next to somebody else's seats for some reason. Or two, you're not sitting in your seats. Either way, I'm not moving. So I went and sat right next to them because I'm like, nah, if you're not sitting where you're supposed to sit, you don't get the benefit of having no one sitting. I'm not moving for you, buddy.
But we have bagged so many people for doing this to us, and now that's twice since we've been gone that you've done it to other people.
I think, though, I was justified. Particularly the second time. The first time, I just thought that it was going to be a full cinema. I was trying to be helpful. And it turned out to be a pretty full cinema.
It wasn't as full as I was expecting, to be honest.
No. You usually think they fill those things to the brim. But and then once you've sat down, it becomes too awkward to move then.
I've got no shame at all. If someone sits next to me, I will happily move. I don't care what they think of me, if they think I'm so rude. I give them the finger and then walk off.
Oh, wow.
So, as I said, we've spoken about it, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Look, all I want to say is that's a little bit more of a grey area that we might have previously, talked about.
I actually hope that those people have a podcast and they're bagging you on their podcast.
Well, the guy last week does not deserve to.
Why can't you just take the moral high ground and just sit somewhere else?
I was taking the moral high ground by sitting in my assigned seats because I'm not a savage.
See, this is what happens when assigned seats happen. People feel privileged and like, no, that is my seat. There is 200 more empty seats around me, but I'm going to sit in my seat. Who cares? Just sit somewhere else. Don't you rather be comfortable and have both armrests than have to share with someone else?
That's how society crumbles, Sean. When people don't sit in their assigned seats.
I'm not buying it.
All right.
You can stay on your left wing. I will happily sit on the right.
I would have said the opposite. I would say that's probably more right. Everyone needs to sit in their assigned seats.
Possibly.
Anyway, let's not get into too much politics.
All right, we'll kick into the movie news, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
All right, well, a lot of shit has happened since we've been away.
You tell me I had diarrhea for about 2 weeks.
And I'm just going to go over a few highlights of things that have happened that we would have spoken about if we were doing the show. And it's something that I have been talking about and wanting for so long. And I was actually surprised that this wasn't more celebrated news than what it was, is that the Joker is going to get his own origin film.
I can tell you why this wasn't celebrated, because of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but the finer details of this is that this is going to be an origin film that isn't connected to the DCEU.
What?
So this isn't an origin story of Jared Leto's Joker. This is a separate Joker and a separate film in its own separate universe.
What? They're pulling on
Yes.
Venom? That makes no sense.
I know it makes no sense, but this is the kicker here. It's going to be produced by Martin Scorsese, and it is rumored, still rumored, that Leonardo DiCaprio could play the Joker.
I can't even talk right now. What? That is incredible.
Hang on, I've got even
Does
something
he just
more
want to make The
incredible.
Departed 2, but obviously can't for reasons
No,
that
but
happen in the film?
this is something even cooler. It's going to be set back in the 70s.
What the heck is going on with this? That's amazing.
So if you know Martin Scorsese's work, a lot of his good shit came back when it was filmmaking was in that era, like stuff like Mean Streets and The Taxi Driver. It's going to be set in that type of world, but have the origin story for the Joker.
That is so interesting. Is he like
It
a
is.
comics fan, or did he just really like Heath Ledger?
I don't know. I don't know how he's got involved in this, but it does sound pretty cool if they could pull it off.
Yeah, cool.
But the only confusing thing is that obviously there's going to be two Jokers in this Warner Brothers stable at the moment. So
Well, one and a half.
Well, how do you say 1.5?
Well,
Jared Leto is still the Joker in the DCEU, whether you like it or not.
okay, yeah. Yeah, look, and I'm not a huge hater. I just... Yeah.
Look, it is going to be a bit confusing. And it was also, at the same time, they were talking about how Matt Reeves' Batman could be its own standalone universe as well. So whether, there's two Batmans in the Warner Brothers stable and two Jokers, and whether the... I'm going to call them like the Bizarro world. Batman and Joker to the DCEU are in the same universe. I don't know. I don't even know if the Batman story is true or not, but they're just rumors.
Well, it's pretty interesting. I think DC is just trying to throw as much shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. And speaking of which, another film that has been really fast-tracked because they really want to cash in on this Harley Quinn fandom at the moment is that a Joker/Harley Quinn film is going to be made.
Well, that's a given, I think, given they were one of the only popular things to come out of Suicide Squad. One of the only.
Well, it was thought that Harley Quinn's next film would be the Gotham Sirens film that we've spoken about. But looks like this one might come first.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it has been fast-tracked, and I think a director was announced, but I can't think of it off the top of my head now.
Oh, okay, but that's all right. But that's good, that's exciting. That's news while we're away. That's good. I'll
and-
definitely
and-
see that.
And it looks like Jared Leto will return even after his cameo in the Suicide Squad that he was pretty disappointed about.
Yeah. Well, I think he wants to get, his vision of the Joker out there.
Yeah, that's true. But, fingers crossed, this thing does happen, and it does happen quickly because I think it might even happen before Suicide Squad 2, which is pretty cool.
I'm down. Look, anything to delay that.
You still haven't gotten over that, have you?
I was talking about it last night actually with a friend who came around because he was okay with the Suicide Squad. And I'm like, all right, just sit there for 10 minutes and let me talk at you about why you're wrong.
Actually, that's who I remember who the directors were. The directors of this Harley Quinn film and Joker film is the same directors as Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell, Emma. Who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of?
Not Emma
Gwen
Watson.
No, not Emma Watson.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. So
yeah, the Rye guys.
and that movie was pretty good. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed they can make something out of it.
I'm keen. I'd like to see the same kind of vibe, like this romantic comedy for the Joker and Harley Quinn. I think that's the kind of movie that the Joker would probably make because it would be so weird.
It will be weird, and I wonder how, because you would think then if it falls between Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad 2, then, obviously he breaks her out of prison, and then the events of that film would probably lead into Suicide Squad 2, you would think.
Yeah, I'd like to see it be a breakup film.
That's what I'm thinking, too.
Yeah.
I don't think they could stay together. I think they'll be on opposite sides again come Suicide Squad 2.
Because it's interesting, when Suicide Squad came out, there was like half of the fandom was, oh, that's such a good couple, I want to be like the Joker and Harley Quinn. And then the other half were like, that's a seriously abusive relationship. People
it is. It's a horrible relationship.
Yeah.
And if you took the time to see the extended cut of Suicide Squad 2, you'll actually see more of that abusive relationship. If anything, he pushes her into the toxic waste to kill her, and he only changes his mind halfway through to save her. So if you want to be in that type of relationship, so be it. I think that's a relationship my wife wants, actually.
Is she often standing on the top of precipices and saying, hey, Sean, come give me a nudge?
She actually just walked past and gave me the finger. So,
who's the Joker and who's Harley Quinn in this relationship?
All right, the other big news that happened is the director of Star Wars Episode 9, Colin Trevorrow, is that his name, has been fired or has been, what would you say, let go due to creative differences.
Yes, that classic mantra of Hollywood, creative differences.
Holding up my inverted commas there. But this was actually, I reckon they jumped the gun on this guy too quickly. Fair enough, he just came off the back of Jurassic World, which was huge, but he hadn't really done anything else. And then to give him a Star Wars film was a bit too soon for me.
I agree. I don't know what exactly the creative differences were. But I don't know, we've talked about this in the past. Big studios like hiring up-and-coming directors. They get them cheap, and quite often they've got an interesting vision.
Yeah. But this guy hadn't done anything, and his latest film just got released, and I'm trying to find the name of it here, and it was absolutely panned. It was called The Book of Henry, and it was panned by critics, and I think that kind of made Disney and Lucasfilm go, maybe we jumped the gun on this guy a bit too quickly. But for better or for worse, I don't know which way you want to look at it, is that he's been replaced by J.J. Abrams.
Well, look, he's solid, isn't he?
I think he was the obvious choice.
Yeah. And I'm happy for him to come back. I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people weren't happy with him, but I thought it was good.
I dare say he's the safer choice.
Yeah.
Because I think Disney and Lucasfilms know that they can, keep the reins on him pretty tightly, that he's not going to go off Broadway and do something that he wants to do, much like the directors of the Han Solo films that got the ass just recently.
Yeah.
So I think, that he likes to play in the pen that they like to set up, and it's a win-win for both of them.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other big one is that I don't know how this is going to work, because she would be in her 60s by now, I would say, is that Linda Hamilton is going to reprise her role as Sarah Connor in the new Terminator film.
Now they'll just play it into the story. I mean, she's just, because the best thing about this is that it's taking place after Terminator 2. They're getting rid of all of the shitty Terminator films and sticking with 1 and 2 as the only ones that are canon.
Yeah, so this was the story we're going to talk about later on, but we can talk about it now. No, that's fine. Is that James Cameron obviously is coming back to direct this film, and Tim Miller, who produced the film, and Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool, is directing the film, which
is exciting.
And it's going to be a direct sequel to Terminator 2.
I'm hoping that they go for, we've talked about this in the past, I'm hoping they go for Arnold Schwarzenegger comes back as the human being that the Terminator model was based on. And he and old-timey Sarah Jessica Parker, like two old people, have to fight against whatever new threat is going to come their way.
Yeah. Well, there was an awesome comic book that came out, I reckon, about 5 years later, after T2, that I remember reading. And the story was built around, remember at the end of Terminator 2, when they're in that factory and Arnold's Terminator arm get caught in that contractor, and he has to rip his arm off. Basically, they're going to build the technology off that arm that was left over in that crank. Yeah. So that's how Skynet, comes to life again. So that comic book was actually pretty good, and the name escapes me now. But if they were to go on that would be pretty exciting. Yeah.
No, I'm down with that. Anything to keep it fresh, but also not deviate too far. Like, I don't want the story to be what new bad guy can come from the future. Like, that's been done.
Yeah.
I want it to be an actual narrative that serves the greater universe.
Something that would be even cooler, and I don't think it could happen because I think he's too far off the rails now, is to get Edward Furlong back as well.
Oh, can you imagine?
To play John Connor. Because really, he would be the right age now.
Yeah.
But as I said, I don't know where he is in his life personally. I think, he's had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see him back as well. And the last one on the list, and it's the one that I was looking forward to the most, to be honest, is that over at HBO, the Watchmen TV series has gone into production.
Yes, this is...
Or pre-production, I should say.
Pre-production, yeah. Production would be awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
It is very exciting. And as I said, I don't know how, or if it's going to be a mini-series, or we're going to get a couple seasons, how long they can extend this book, or whether they go down the route, which we spoke about previously, of another comic book series called Before Watchmen, which basically gave the backstory to all the characters. That could be, 4 or 5 seasons. But yeah, this could be anything, this show, especially on HBO.
I reckon they do a 12-episode series based on the chapters in the book, and then if that goes well, they'll go back and do the previous stuff, the prequel stuff.
Yeah, so it's basically being produced by Damon Lindelof. He did Lost, and he also did it's a really fascinating and quite deep TV show called The Leftovers. It only ran for 3 seasons, and they were able to finish the whole story in 3 seasons. And if you got a chance to, go and watch it, because it's actually quite good, and it keeps you wanting to watch more, because you want to know what the hell happened to these people. Basically, 2/3 of the population just vanished, and it tells the story of the people who were left over on Earth, trying to work out what happened, trying to get on with their lives, and trying to find out what happened to their lost ones. Cool. It's really good. So, that's why I'm excited, because Lost was quite fascinating, and so was that show. So for him to do Watchmen as well, as I said, it could be anything. It could be a turd for all I know, but, it could be something special.
He can deal with creativity, which is what the Watchmen needs. And I'm really hoping they nail it. I mean, HBO has good history with this. They really get some good actors to play these parts. Because
not just that, is that they show everything as well. They're not shy. They don't shy away from anything.
Exactly right.
And something like Watchmen, it does deal with, a pedophile. It does deal with a lot of the underworld type scenarios that we don't really see on big screen. So it could do really well. Hopefully, fingers crossed. All right, well, into this week's movie news, and a film that I've kind of been looking forward to and not keeping my hopes up, and that's the new Blade Runner film, 2049. We've spoken about and we've gushed about the director, Denis Villeneuve, how on his massive hot streak that he's on. Could this be the film that knocks him off his pedestal? But according to the Twitter reactions of a press screening that came out recently, the reviews have been ecstatic. Now, did you want to read some of the reviews?
Yeah, I'll grab the first one, because this is the one I think that probably, for my mind, will most accurately represent the film. Blade Runner 2049 is stunning visually. Some truly inspired moments. Not sure as a story it 100% works. Lower these expectations a tad. Villeneuve has some truly masterful sequences, deserves Best Director nod consideration, which is awesome. And no joke, Harrison Ford is fantastic. Best Supporting Actor nod is not a reach. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I was just going to say Harrison Jones. Harrison Ford getting Best Supporting Actor would be fantastic. Deakins, production design and visual effects, major player. Great work from Gregory Elwood.
It would be cool, and it has happened recently with Stallone getting a Best Actor nod for Creed not long ago. So it would be cool to see these actors go back and play the characters they've originally done and get recognized for it.
Exactly right.
And one other one is that Blade Runner 2049, the most mind-blowing film I've ever seen. It's breathtaking and transportive. Denis Villeneuve has a masterpiece on his hand from Jenna Bush from Coming Soon. So, as I said, now I'm starting to get a bit more excited for it. We've spoken about how amazing the visuals look already, and how much they've kept in the same world as what the first Blade Runner film was. So now I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it comes out in 2 weeks, so we haven't got much longer to go.
I think the last half of this year is pretty stacked, so I'm excited.
Yeah, well, we've got this film, we've got Thor Ragnarok to come, and then there's a lot of, more dramas coming out that I'm looking forward to seeing. And then obviously we're going to get the Oscar contenders for the year. So
and Justice League.
And Justice League. Actually, speaking of which, there was a screening held 2 weeks ago, and obviously still Twitter reactions from just everyday people like me and yourself, and they're calling the film epic, and they're calling The Flash is the standout of this film.
Oh, really?
So, fingers crossed they can continue this, because if they do, Warner Brothers is going to have a massive year on its hands. Already had a huge hit with Wonder Woman. It's already got a monster hit with it. And if they can finish the year with a monster hit with Justice League, it'll basically wipe the slate of everything that happened in the last 2 years with the DCEU. And hopefully we're on the right track.
Exciting times. It
is very exciting. Well, a film I know that you loved is got 4 sequels heading our way, and that's Avatar. Now, they're filming 4 films back-to-back, which has never been done before. The previous one was Lord of the Rings, where they did 3 films back-to-back. This one's doing 4, and it's going to cost over $1 billion.
Which is pretty incredible, but here's a bit of a pop quiz for you. Do you know how much that the original Avatar earned adjusted for inflation?
No, not in. I know it earned over $2 billion at the box office.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation, it's over $3.3 billion.
It's chump change for them.
Exactly right. So $1 billion on 4 films, they're going to make that back as long as they keep being good. But just to the side here, do you know what the highest grossing film of all time is?
For inflation.
Yeah.
Is it still Gone with the Wind?
Still Gone with the Wind. Yeah. Earned almost $4 billion. That's insane.
It is.
Anyway, back to Avatar.
I haven't even seen that film, to be honest.
Oh, a long time ago. I can't remember it. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's gone into production in Los Angeles, which is surprising because I thought they were heading down to New Zealand to do this because I know Weta is doing all the visual effects for it. And there's no word yet of when...
Yeah, go back and forward.
Yeah, there's no word yet of when, either one or 2 of them are going to be complete. But, for this, they're taking a big risk with this. But when you look at the numbers, it's not really a massive risk for them, considering how much the last one made.
James Cameron probably put in $500 million of his own money. That guy's bankable.
Well, his last 2 films were Titanic and Avatar, and they sit 1 and 2 on the all-time list. So as I said, I'm pretty sure he's a safe bet.
Yeah.
But as we said before, what if the first one bombs? Are people going to be interested in part 2, 3, and 4? I don't know.
It's a good question. I assume they have to make them, though, don't they? If they're making them all back to back.
Well, they're going to film them all, but then obviously you got post-production.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this one.
Uncharted territory. We might be doing this show in 20 years and being like, so new footage came out of the scrapped Avatar sequel.
Yeah, that would be funny.
We got the scene where Sully has sex with a plant or some crazy thing. It's like, no wonder those films didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, Warner Brothers took their time in announcing this because usually when something's a hit, they usually announce the sequel, pretty much straight away. But they waited a couple of weeks for some reason. But It Chapter 2 has been set for September 2019, so in 2 years' time.
Which is a long time because this was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it was. And we didn't really speak about it, obviously, because we haven't done the show. But we saw the film together, and if I had seen this film by myself, I probably would have been a lot more terrified than what I was. But because I was in a big cinema with a lot of people, it was very scary, but I didn't shit myself as much as I thought it would.
Yeah,
but that's not saying the film's not any good. The film is brilliant. But yeah, it's I really enjoyed it, I have to say.
Yeah, I think I'm the same boat as you, being surrounded by people. And that's why the lady next to me, that's why I sat next to her, because she looked like she had her shit together. There are still a couple of moments where I'm like, ooh, that's really... I hope I don't think about that on the drive home, because that could get me. But yeah, overall, it's just a really solid film. Like, besides being a good horror film, it was just a good movie with a good arcs and good story. Yeah,
and as I said, we've spoken about all these child casting. Every film with kids seemed to get it right with these actors, and the cast in these was fantastic. Yeah. And I'm actually disappointed that we're not going to see more of them, or we might see them in flashbacks, who knows. But the kids were fantastic.
I'm sure we'll see all of these kids again because they're all fantastic.
Yeah, but there's going to be obviously a little bit older.
Yeah, true.
And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the adult cast. Are they going to try and get some big names? They're going to try and keep it low-key like this one was. I'll be keen to see what they do with it.
I'd like to see low-key. I think if I see Brad Pitt strutting around, what's the town called again? Derry.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take me out of it a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And the last piece of news... Oh, sorry, we've got 2 more. Another 80s film is making a kind of rebooted comeback, and that is Die Hard. They're calling it Die Hard Year One, and the story is going to follow John McClane as a rookie cop in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
It's kind of, for me, they're just kind of clutching at straws, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're just trying and keep this franchise alive. But do we really want to see John McClane back in the 70s?
I don't mind as a concept, but doesn't it kind of shit on the first film where it's supposed to be like he's just a normal cop who happens to find himself in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Yeah, that's right. He wasn't a hero yet.
Yeah, if he's doing like heroic stuff in the 70s, it kind of softens that a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a film where I'm just like,
Yeah.
not really that keen on seeing this one. But they are saying Bruce Willis will be in it, and he'll kind of like bookend the film. And I wonder if that will lead into Die Hard, or are they going to try and keep a window open between the two, so just in case if it's a hit, they can release a sequel to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm really curious to see who they're going to cast as a young Bruce Willis. I think that could be rather interesting. But besides that, I'm not really interested at all.
Well, I'm actually surprised because usually when something comes up, you throw your hand up straight away. So you don't want to play a young Bruce Willis.
Well, from what I heard, he's quite an intimidating person, so I don't know if I'd want to work with him. If Kevin Smith and Ashton Kutcher are anything to go by.
Well, you wouldn't be working with him because you'd be the same person.
Yeah, but I'm sure he'd show up at your house at 2 a.m. being like, all right, this is how you play me. This is what John McClane's all about. You better do it exactly like this. You'll be acting away on set, and you'll sort of cast, and he's just like hiding behind the food vans. No, I'm not in for that.
Not in for that?
No.
Well, it's good to see that you're not whoring yourself out for a change.
Not for everything. Not when it comes to like physical maiming by Bruce Willis.
Yeah. No, as I said, it's a nice change. Well done.
I'm growing.
Yeah. All right, and the last piece of news is that they've added 2 cast members to the new Venom film. One is Michelle Williams, who was she's been in a lot of films. She was also the wife to the late Heath Ledger. And another guy who is starting to grow in popularity. His name is Riz Ahmed. He was in Rogue One. He played the pilot Bodhi, was it? Bodhi, yep. And he was also in this fantastic miniseries he did for HBO. It was called The Night Of. And if you can get your hands on this, it was fantastic. It's a show that it'll keep you guessing the whole time. You don't know exactly what happened, and you just want to keep watching each episode to find out what the hell happened the night of this murder. So if you can get your hands on that, definitely watch it. But, they're really solid ins for this film. Whether it can work outside the Marvel universe or Spider-Man universe they're building, I don't know.
The casting director they need to have a casting director award because Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and Tom Hardy for a Venom film, somebody's really been doing their work to make that happen.
And it's quite. I'm really interested to see what Tom Hardy's going to look like in this film, how big he's going to be.
Yeah, I think he'll bulk up a little bit at least. You have to.
But as I said, Eddie Brock wasn't necessarily a big man. He just turned into, when Venom was obviously big, he was big, but as I said, I don't know how it's going to work.
He was big, particularly in the 90s, if you have a look. He was a weightlifter and did all those, not Bane level big or anything like that, but, it's a solid unit, so I think he's going to put some muscle on.
Yeah, well, as I said, we'll wait and see. Hopefully some set photos come out shortly.
I want to see how ripped Michelle Williams is going to be. Let's see that.
Yeah, well that's true.
I mean, I have no idea who either of those people will be playing, but
yeah, it's a wait and see.
I will guess though, love interest and wacky sidekick.
Yeah, possibly.
And I'll let you decide which is which.
What, Michelle Williams be the wacky sidekick?
And Riz Ahmed be the love interest. Could be a very progressive film.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? All right, well, it's school holidays, and that means that this is the time of year where I go and watch every single kids' film that is out at the moment. As I said, I never complain about this because if I can get my boys interested in going to the movies, I'm more than happy to sit down and watch whatever they want to watch. And the first 2 that I've seen this school holidays was the Emoji Movie. Oh, God. As I said, the reviews weren't wrong on this film.
Yeah.
Look, well done to them for working out a story that involved the emojis, but fuck, it is a horrible film.
Yeah, I only bothered half reading even the reviews for this film. That's how turned off I was.
Yeah. So as I said, if you got kids who want to see it, just go and watch it. It's 2 hours of the school holidays you don't need to fill, or you don't have to put any thought into. But the one that I watched yesterday, and it's I wasn't really looking that forward to it, but I really, really enjoyed it, and that was the Ninjago film. This film visually is fucking pretty cool to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's also got this fantastic message that I don't know if kids probably will see it, but adults will definitely see it. It's making sure that you're putting the time into your kids while they're still young, while they're growing up. You're teaching them these things, so then when they do get to teenagers / adults, that they're not, they feel like they've missed out on that time with their parents, and also with the parents having missed out on that time with the kids. So that was quite resonating with me, and I thought it was a great message.
I'm glad it was a good movie because it didn't open very well.
No, it hasn't done, anywhere near what Batman or the Lego movie did. So I doubt there'll be a sequel to it, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good.
Good. I might check it out.
Yeah. And you said this week you saw the Kingsman?
I did see the Kingsman. And
I'm quite interested to know what you say, because the reviews that I've read it's too long, it's quite bloated, and it's nowhere near as good as the first.
But all those things, for my mind, are very true. My parents saw it, and they really enjoyed it. I saw it with my father-in-law, and he really enjoyed it. There were aspects of it that I thought was really enjoyable, but it's like a 2.5-hour movie, and there are far too many characters. They're trying to do far too much. I don't want to go into spoilers, but it does something which really frustrates me in a film, where there doesn't seem to be consequences for anything. I don't want to go into spoilers, but like things happen in this film that it's like we wanted to do this cool set piece, so this thing is going to happen, but then there's no follow-on from it. It's just as if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that happens quite a few times during the film, which kind of takes away any sense of drama or tension. And I think the villain was criminally underutilized. And yeah, it was a bit disappointing. And the more I think about it in the days afterwards, the more it starts to frustrate me, and the plot holes kind of become more obvious.
It's a shame, because I've got a kids-free afternoon next week. So I'm like, I was thinking of watching it, but I'm like, I think I might just wait. There's another film called Battle of the Sexes that is out.
Yes, I want to see that.
With Steve Carell and Emma Stone. I might go watch that instead.
Yeah, I think do that, because you'll be disappointed by this film. I know you will be.
Yeah. So as I said, 2.5 hours for an action film, and it's kind of like not like a spoofy action film. That's a fucking long movie for that type of film. So I might just wait.
If the story was there, sure, but it's not trying to tell a story. It's trying to be set piece, lead to set piece, lead to set piece. It's far too long for that.
You've sold me on that one.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've also watched a lot of films while we've been away. I watched the Tom Cruise film, American Made. I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed that one. I watched another one, the Channing Tatum, Logan Lucky, with directed by Steven Soderbergh, and that one was just okay. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. The Big Sick, that was fantastic, with Ray Romano and the guy from Silicon Valley, whose name escapes me at the moment. I enjoyed that.
So Ray Romano was good?
Yeah, he is. He's been very good. And he's also in... Actually, there's a TV show that is a spin-off of a film that we dreaded when we heard about it, and that's Get Shorty. That TV show has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed that, and I look forward to Monday so I can keep watching this show. And Ray Romano is in that as well, and he's really good in it. So he's showed his dramatic side, very well in these two films that I've seen.
Cool. I'm excited.
And he was also in a show called Vinyl, which only lasted a season, which was disappointing because I enjoyed it. He was in that as well, and as I said, he's been really, really good in everything that I've seen him do, other than, Everyone Loves Raymond. So he does have some acting chops, so good luck to him.
Awesome.
I watched the Will Ferrell film, The House, with Amy Poehler. That was just okay, nothing to write home about. And I also watched King Arthur. Visually, it's incredible. It's Guy Ritchie back to what he was doing with Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. You can kind of see what he was doing with that. But the film itself, it just wasn't great. And it's a reason why it won't continue in a trilogy, which they hoped it would be. And, it's probably a knock on Warner Brothers for making these period films that haven't been successful of late and no one really wants to see anymore.
Which is a shame because, like you, I think that I would have loved to have seen that universe expand.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. They definitely set up the Knights of the Round Table at the end of this film. And, King Arthur becomes King Arthur. But I don't see it going on further than that.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen quite a lot. You've done well.
Yeah, no, I have. It's as I said, I usually watch a lot more TV than movies. But, I've got Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
That's been out for digital release, so I've got that ready to go, and I'm hopefully going to watch that tonight with my son. So
Does that come out today? Because I've
Yeah.
pre-ordered that as well. Oh man, yeah, definitely gonna watch that again.
So I've been really looking forward to watching that again. So hopefully tonight is the night.
Cool, sounds good. I'm gonna watch that with Mika. She's got a Spider-Man light in her room, so she knows who Spider-Man is. But,
Yeah.
she's never actually seen him in action, so we might get that going.
Awesome. Hopefully it grabs her attention. All right, well, that wraps up the comeback show of Not Another Movie podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And let your week be a good week until next week.